there. You see that white cargo van. That has been the subject of much attention all morning. Christy Fajardo is out there, and we now believe more strongly that that van and the person inside is linked to the deadly shootings in Monterey Park. Christy, go ahead. What have you seen?
Yeah, well, Sheriff Luna would not make the connection, but he did say that the van there you see behind me is, or at least matches the description of the suspect vehicle. And there have been developments in the last couple of minutes. Sheriff Luna called this a barricade situation, but just minutes ago, we actually saw LASD SWAT approach the vehicle. They popped out the window and then started to open the door. And as they were doing so, it appeared that someone who was in the driver's seat fell out, and that they actually had to kind of push that person back in. That person, as far as we could tell, was not moving. And Julio, who's behind the camera about an hour ago, was able to zoom in from a different vantage point. He could actually make out what appeared to be 2 bullet holes in the windshield. And still a very fluid situation. We saw what appeared to be a medic approach the person that was inside the driver's side. Don't know exactly what happened. They have since moved the armored vehicle that you see, which has limited our vantage point. But again, there's a very large law enforcement presence. When we first arrived just after 11, we were hearing Torrance police on a loudspeaker telling whoever was inside the van to roll down the window and to throw out his weapon. But we didn't see any movement at that point from inside the van, and we've not seen any since. The Sheriff's Department did come through the parking lot of the Hobby Lobby. We're actually at Hawthorne Boulevard and Sepulveda. It started to clear people out, saying that there was a potential hazmat situation, but they did not elaborate on what that could be. Again, they've not been able to, up until now, actually see what's inside the van, but again, they have just opened the door and appear to be tending to someone who was in the driver's seat, and no doubt are getting a very better look at what might be inside there. And we will, of course, keep you posted. That's the latest from Torrance. Let's send it back to you.
All right, Christy Fajardo, thank you. And from our vantage point with the view from Skyfox, we can see that all the doors are now open to the cargo van, except for the rear door where there's a Bearcat that is nudged up against it. There also appears to be some broken glass on the parking lot, the asphalt there in front of it. Not quite sure what this pile of material is, but it looks as if they are emptying that cargo van. Indeed, they will be looking for evidence and to see whether or not this person inside the van was indeed connected to the shooting, which killed 10 people and injured 10 others. Another interesting thing about what Sheriff Luna just mentioned, he mentioned that he didn't like to name the hospitals where the victims were taken, and that in one instance, there was actually somebody who called in and said that they were on their way to the hospital to finish the job. And that is not the kind of trauma that these victims have already suffered, that they need any more of that kind of thing. So interesting to watch the investigation here, the incident here, as the as all of the SWAT members and the Sheriff's Department look into this van to, again, get a strong connection, a connection that this man was indeed the one responsible for the mass shooting in Monterey Park. Any way that we can pull up the bulletin that the Sheriff's Department put out, it was about an hour or so ago, no, a little bit more than that ago, they put out a bulletin with a suspect photo, and they described the man as Asian, originally between the ages of 30 and 50, but now that they have this photo, maybe they will adjust that age. But he's 5'10", 150 pounds, a darker complexion. He did not want to, the sheriff did not want to name this person, I would suspect, because at the second location, witnesses were able to disarm this man, so they would have had, you know, probably enough evidence to identify who this man is, but they did not want to release that information as yet, probably because of the situation you're looking at now live from Skyfox in Torrance, but also because they weren't 100% sure that that is the suspect. And so in case that name was still out there, that they wanted to make sure that they would not inhibit the investigation and an arrest. We're going to go now to Gina Silva. She is at the scene, the original scene, in Monterey Park. And Gina, what more have you learned?
Well, Susan, we're located right now at Garvey Avenue and Garfield Avenue in Monterey Park. And just take a look behind me. This is where all the Lunar New Year festivities would be taking place if it had not been for that mass shooting that occurred last night. All of the activities planned for today here in Monterey Park have been canceled. We've spoken with people in this community. This is their reaction.
I was just so sad and scared because I'm from Diamond Bar and I've been living in Alhambra for a long time, and I was just heartbroken that people can't just celebrate with their families and safely, and it's just a scary world.
Everyone's in shock, and just the timing of it during the Lunar Festival, just very crazy.
I will send my deepest condolences to all of them. Hopefully one day they will find the suspect. But nothing can be done already. The future things to prevent it from happening, gun control.
Like many people in Los Angeles, I grabbed my phone, I checked the news headlines, and I saw that this devastating crime happened last night. I was shocked. Once I got over the shock, I just felt compelled to come out and be part of the community to show support.
Someone called me and say, Chester, I think they call me for greeting, but he called me, no, he say the street fair in Los Angeles and the Monterey Park got mass shooting.
Just absolutely devastating. So many people shocked that it happened last night around 10:20. Now take a look. We have audio of when the paramedics were making that call.
Engine 61, RE61, gunshot wound, 122 West Garvey Avenue. Stage for PD Intel Code 4, Garfield Avenue, Ramona Avenue, Red 1.
Monterey Park police responded to a call of shots fired around 10:20 at the Star Dance Studio, located at 122 West Garvey in Monterey Park. When they arrived, it was a gruesome scene. 20 people had been shot, 10 were dead. The gunman was gone. About 20 minutes later, a male Asian suspect walked into another ballroom in Alhambra. But people at the Lai Lai Ballroom and Studio managed to take away his weapon. That studio is located just about 2 miles north of the first shooting location. And of course, as you know, Christy is at the location where they do believe the suspect is. So we will be live here throughout the day and bring you the latest. Susan?
All right, Gina Silva, thank you very much. And as you see there, just to the left, stage left of Gina, still the live picture out of Torrance as we see the teams leaving the area, highly suggesting that this is pretty much over and that they realize that the person that was inside that van is dead and not a threat to them, certainly. All right, we also want to go to Hal Eisner. He has been at the Monterey Park City Hall and has been amongst all those people, elected officials and the new sheriff, talking about what this means to the community and where people can go if they might need some help finding the possible dead victims. Hal.
Yeah, one of the things that the sheriff did in his second news conference here at City Hall today was to show a picture. We've talked about this picture. This is a bulletin. Let's go full frame to this picture if we could and talk about this man. Now, he's a person of interest. It's somebody they want to find. It's a man described as being male, Asian, dark complected, 5'10", 150 pounds, wearing a black leather jacket, a beanie, and glasses. And here's a little more of what the sheriff elaborated on during the news conference.
We had a vehicle that was described as a white box van, I guess you'd say, a van of interest. And there's a van that looks just like what was described to us in the city of Torrance. It's a barricaded suspect situation. We are working with one of our partner agencies, the Torrance Police Department, to resolve that. We believe there is a person inside of that vehicle. We don't know their condition, but we're going to handle that in the safest manner.
It was not the soundbite we were looking for, but what the sheriff did say was they weren't ready to fully say that this was the person involved. There's a lot of agencies looking into this thing. They're interacting with each other. They say the investigative process takes time, asking for everybody's patience, but at the same time holding back on saying whether the person in this bulletin is the person that they are actually believing was a suspect, but they are asking you, if you in the public know anything about this man that is in this picture, to call the sheriff's department. And Susan, as far as some where people can get help, we're going to have to put that on the website. It's a center in the area, and we will do that.
Yes, indeed. I can tell you how precisely what Sheriff Luna said. He said that people that might need some help finding their loved ones, if the loved one did not come home last night, that they should go to the Langley Center, Senior Center, and we'll have that information up for you shortly. But that is where you're asked to go. In the meantime, Sheriff Luna also made a point of saying that he would prefer that other people who are not related to this not go to the center, because that those people who have already been victimized need their space. They absolutely need their space. Other information that came out of a fairly lengthy news conference from Sheriff Luna and also from others, and that has to do with the fact that people are just devastated, obviously, for this community. We heard earlier from Hilda Solis, who also pointed to Asian hate. It doesn't appear that this necessarily will be an Asian hate incident, since the man was Asian and the suspect is Asian and went into a predominantly Asian community. However, there is a connection, from what I'm told, by trauma specialists that 65%, like a high number of mass casualty situations are ultimately related to domestic violence. So perhaps we shouldn't be too surprised if it turns out that the suspect was indeed going after a particular person that they were related to, and then it turned into something else. So as you see there, as we keep an eye on the Torrance location, again, this is about 30 miles away from the original location in Monterey Park. It was about 10:20 yesterday, last night, when a man entered a dance studio. There was the ends of a celebration, a Lunar Year celebration. There were still people in there, obviously, but it wasn't going full force. It was towards the end of the celebration, from what we understand. Opened fire, shot 20 people. 10 of them are in the hospital, 10 of them dead. Of the dead, 5 men, 5 women. And some of the earlier video that we saw coming from the scene suggested that this was not like a dance club where you saw a lot of young people. There were, in fact, because this is like a ballroom dance studio, there were, in fact, a lot of older people that might not fit what your idea is at a club on a Saturday night. But again, this is the Lunar Weekend celebration. Monterey Park had just had a huge celebration during the day. On Saturday, they expected to have the second day of festivities. But that has all been canceled. And you see here now, so this is some video that we got from the scene, and one person that was just put into the ambulance there. Also sort of interesting to hear from the sheriff about what the sheriff had to say, how he did not want to disclose the hospitals where these people were taken. And then he also mentioned the fact that someone had the audacity. Sorry, that's making me a little emotional, but it's just crazy to think that somebody would have the audacity to call a hospital and say, I'm coming there to finish the job. And as you see, yet another one of the victims being put into the ambulance. All right, we want to show you some of the responses that are coming out from not only the community, but also from high-ranking politicians, including Joe Biden. So he wrote this tweet. You can read along. Sorry, I didn't realize I'd be so emotional. Jill and I are praying for those killed and injured in last night's deadly mass shooting in Monterey Park. I'm monitoring this situation closely as it develops and urge the community to follow guidance from local officials and law enforcement in the hours ahead.